All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. Well, welcome to the Caregiving Wisdom Series. We are so glad that you guys are here tonight. And for those of you, if this is your first time with us, welcome. The Caregiving Wisdom Series is really all about inviting those who have both a personal and a professional expertise in caregiving to share their wisdom with us. We're just really honored tonight to have Elizabeth Miller with us, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about why she's so special. And I know that so many of you are here to hear about her topic, because how timely is it that we're talking about family dynamics right before Thanksgiving? So we know your time's precious. We have an hour scheduled for tonight, and we will not abuse that time. We want to fill it with a lot of wisdom. If we do have questions that run over, we'll let everyone go, and then Elizabeth can stay on along with us for a few minutes to answer those additional questions. We hope that you find that along with all the practical wisdom and emotional support tonight, that you find spiritual nourishment that is encouraging and uplifting. And we ask again, just a quick reminder for all of you who are joining right now, because there's still a number of you guys coming on in, and we're glad you're here. We're going to be using the chat box. So the chat box is in the lower left-hand corner. And with that, what we'd like you to do is place your questions, comments, thoughts while Elizabeth is speaking, so that as we come to the portion where we tackle all the things that you've now placed in that chat box, we'll have them there. But again, through the duration, we'll ask everyone to remain on mute and videos off, and we're ready to go. So, as we always do, we'll begin with prayer. And
Muted.
We'll just take a minute to quiet ourselves and recognize that the Lord is here present as we gather together. I think the Lord really has no problem recognizing that his people are gathered together, even when they're gathered together virtually. So we know that the Lord is here present with us. And we pray this prayer from St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
amen. Thank you,
Amen.
Kelly. So tonight, I'm thrilled to introduce you all to Elizabeth Miller. Elizabeth, let me tell you a little bit about her first. First of all, I've known you, Elizabeth, now for about 5 years. We first met at the National Caregiving Conference, and Elizabeth is amazing. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's a full-time employee, a family caregiver, author, and a certified caregiving consultant. And whew, got that all in one word. Elizabeth, just a little bit by background, she obtained her BA in journalism from Penn State University and has worked in corporate IT and strategy roles for, a little over 20 years. Elizabeth's personal experience came from caring for her aging parents who had chronic and terminal illness, as well as caring for a sibling with developmental disabilities. And that really is what inspired her to create the Happy, Healthy Caregiver in 2015. Through all of the consulting that she's done, through her podcasting that she does, her books, and her online community, Elizabeth truly is devoted to and committed to helping family caregivers integrate caregiving and self-care with their busy lives. And is that so important, especially right now? Elizabeth has been a presenter at the 2016-2019 National Caregiving Conferences, and her story has also been featured in Women's Day and the Marietta Daily Journal. Marietta, Elizabeth is from Georgia. She is the host of the Happy Healthier podcast on the Whole Care Network, author of Just For You, a daily self-care journal, which I have and I've used and I love it. Plenty of space to really get into your caregiving journey. She facilitates in Atlanta a support group for family caregivers called the Atlanta Daughterhood Circle, which was also featured in the Washington Post. Elizabeth, we're honored to have you here.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here tonight. This is the most fun I've had all day after all the work meetings. So I'm excited for this. And it's a special time because it's National Family Caregivers Month as well.
Ooh, yep, exactly.
Very good. So do I take it away from here?
Take it away, Elizabeth.
Okay, let's do it. Well, I love the
You.
prayer opening. First of all, I thought that's a special prayer from my mom. And so I don't know if some of you know this, but I was supposed to present um, September, like the second week in September. And my mom, after a long journey, I like to say she took the scenic route to heaven. She passed away on September 2nd. And Deb was gracious to give me the gift of getting out of my commitment at that time. And so I know I had heard that you all that had joined that night did a special prayer. And so it was felt. Thank you very much. So prayer of St. Francis was important to my mom, and as well as the Saint Anthony was big patron saint of hers. So I was raised Catholic, and mom always prayed for Saint Anthony every time we lost something, and we lost a lot of things. I'm one of 6 kids, so plenty of things to lose. So tonight we're going to talk about family dynamics. Like I said, I'm one of 6 kids. I'm from a big family. I know some of you, even with small families, family can be kind of in quotations. We can incorporate our friends and our neighbors and everything into what I'm referring to as family. So as Deb shared with you all, she gave you some of the the highlights, I guess. But basically, what I want to share is that I'm creating things and sharing things that I wish were available for me. Particularly 6 years ago in 2014, things just kind of spiraled for my family. We were my husband and I are a sandwich generation. We had 2 active kids in travel sports and active in school, and he was caring for his mom with lung cancer, the primary caregiver. He has 1 brother in Arizona, and I was caring for my parents as needed at the time, but things started escalating in 2014. And long story short, we each lost a parent that year. My kids lost 2 grandparents, and we were in the pinnacle of our career. We frankly were just losing our mind. I mean, I think some of you might be able to relate in that the feelings were, for me, as I just felt like isolated, overwhelmed. The tears were coming easily, and it just felt like I could never do enough and catch my breath, and it was exhausting. So, but in taking care of people, and frankly, people that had made lifestyle choices. So my parents had there were a cocktail of issues, chronic health issues, um, diabetes, morbid obesity, depression, heart disease. My mom had edema. They both had sleep apnea. Mom had COPD, and dad's main thing was heart disease. But in seeing all of this, I just knew that if I didn't change things in my own life, that I could potentially end up in that same situation for my kids. And I did not want that. And so that is why I'm a self-proclaimed self-care bully for caregivers. And part of self-care is about getting things in order, and family dynamics is one of those things. So what you're going to learn tonight is you're going to learn what a healthy caregiver mindset looks like. I think that's important, just so we're all in the right frame of mind here. What behaviors I'm going to recommend that you continue doing and discontinue. How to just really uncover what you're really expecting, because I think a lot of family dynamics and communication is around managing expectations. And then how to be assertive and just stop accepting what you're getting today, because that's the definition of insanity, right? And be assertive and get the help that you need. So those are our goals for tonight. And then I'm going to give you some steps on how to have a productive family meeting. There's some tips for that, particularly like Deb said, that we're coming up into the holiday season. Your family members likely are going to be reuniting in some way. So it's a good opportunity to kind of have all of this fresh in mind. So after today's session, I'm challenging you all to think about a couple things. One is, think about your situation, because all of our situations are completely unique. And just really, sit down with the journal, sit down with a cup of tea, think about what you really want to change in your situation, and what are your expectations out of people. There is no such thing as a perfect family. I think that was something I saw in one of the social posts promoting this. There's no such thing as perfect. And so we just have to get it to it where it works. It works, frankly, for everybody. And then scheduling a family meeting to align and manage expectations around caring for your parent, caring for your loved one. It doesn't have to be your aging parent, but whoever your care recipient is. So I said we need to kind of get the cobwebs out and just kind of have this healthy caregiving mindset, because we can do a lot. But like this quote says, you can do anything, but not everything. Another favorite one I love is like, you can have it all, just not all at once, because we are human and we have limits, and there's only so much. Caregiving really is a team effort. So we've got to divide and conquer. And I love this. I saw this and it just really struck home for me, is that just how a slight change in your mindset thinking, your magic formula, I like to call it, of having your reality not matching your expectations, that's where you get disappointment. But happiness is when your reality and your expectations are more in alignment. And then I love this verse from Proverbs. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. So sometimes when all else fails, you just gotta put it in his hands. Because I think a lot about caregiving is learning lessons and how to let go. Because as a control freak, I can speak to this, is that nothing goes as planned. The best laid plans just disappear and evaporate. So we just serenity prayer, this Proverbs verse, these are just things that we can go to and have in our back pocket for this magic formula. And then I mentioned this in the beginning, like, I have this family. So siblings definitely are like what comes to mind, especially when we're caring for aging parents. Maybe your spouse, maybe your, things, but there are other people that can help you. And so there are a lot of resources in your faith community, and worth asking and checking out what those are. Whether you have a Stevens Ministries, maybe you have a pretty progressive faith community that has a caregiving ministry. Those are lovely, and I wish that we have more of those. Frankly, I hope that that's something that we're gonna see more of. I think our neighbors can be one of our expanded family helpers. Friends of your parents, your aging parents, they want to help. They probably just don't know how, and they need a little guidance from you. There's also community volunteers. Sometimes, at local hospitals, there's people who want training in different things, nurses that are up and coming, things like that. So it's good to just kind of check and see what's available in your local area. And then your other family members, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, like whoever has a heartbeat, frankly, is a candidate to be on your care team. And your care recipient. And I put this in here because I think it's important to not discount that they can help themselves and to meet. I like to always say, like my mom all the time, like, Mom, I need you to meet me halfway. That was kind of one of the phrases that I would use, because I just felt like I was constantly doing. It's like, look, I need you to help yourself. Yes, similar to raising kids, it's easier to make their bed. It's easier in some ways to just do things yourself, but that's not scalable. It's not something that we can sustain doing, because unlike kids that kind of learn how to do more and more, oftentimes the people that we're caring for, they lose capacity to do more and more for themselves. And really you're doing a big disservice to them. Think about it that way. If you keep doing things for them, because like I know in my mom's case, she had mobility issues. Well, if I made it easy for her by getting everything for her, then she wasn't getting up. And that was frankly, sometimes her exercise was going to fill up her water and get herself, more ice cubes or something like that. And you just like, it's tough love, frankly, but just like, Mom, I care about you. I want you to keep, to keep moving and stay as healthy as possible. And so I know that this is part of what your doctor recommended. So things like that. And even things like ordering gifts on Amazon, like even with her mobility issues, she certainly could do that for a long time. So maybe I was a little bit of the tough love daughter, but that was definitely, I think it's important just to be scalable there. So Galatians 6 verse 2 says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. And so it's a team sport, y'all, and look at all those hands on top of one another. We cannot do this by ourselves. So here's some based on lessons learned from what I went through, because now I'm kind of on the, I've still got my brother with has a developmental disability, but I'm a long distance support person for him. But now I'm a former family caregiver, frankly turned full-time advocate. And so sharing the do's and don'ts of sharing the care based upon what I've learned and what I've gathered through my clients that I have. So family, we may not have it all together, but together we have it all. So I think that someone once said to me that, if you had to put out all your family's dirty laundry, like in a trash bag out on the corner of the street, and then someone just kind of blew a whistle and said, okay, everybody go grab a bag of trash and bring it back in into your house and see what you get. Most of us would probably go out and grab our same trash because we know what we're going to get. And so you have learned things over the years of how to work together with your family, and you're experts in your family. So, so use that expertise as well. So here's some do's of sharing the care. So we've, I think I've kind of beat this one up, is that it's not a one-person job. If you are a solo caregiver right now, I hope that that's the one thing that changes for you after tonight, is that you are looking all around you for the people that you can add to your care team. Everybody in your family, in your extended family, has different strengths and weaknesses. None of us are all the same. We can't all be good at everything. And sometimes we just have to accept people for who they are and not expect them to change. One of my favorite things to say is, I have a brother who is not as helpful as the rest of my siblings. And I think the chances of him watching this are probably slim and none, but so at some point, he's been consistent is my favorite word to use, because he's been consistent throughout my entire life. And so not expecting him to change while all of a sudden, once caregiving enters our life, it can be frustrating to think that people are just going to just overnight change their behaviors. Plan enjoyable activities with your siblings, I think, is important. Particularly, like, I have a really tight bond with two of my sisters, and together we call ourselves Sister Power, and we put our hands together like the Wonder Twins. So we're triplets though. And together we can do just about anything, I think. And we can say that we, could have a good time just shoveling cow manure, but we got to kind of protect that relationship, right? So if we just kept getting together and talking about caregiving and talking about that, it's a very special relationship that you have with your siblings. And so plan some activities that are caregiving related. Being vulnerable and transparent has been a success thing for me in particular. I know one example is when we were trying to get my parents to move to be closer to family members. They were retired in Florida. We were 6 hours away, the closest family, my two brothers and I. And, we just kept kind of saying, we really want you to do this. You're too far away. You. And it was really not until we turned that conversation more into, this is how this is impacting me, this situation. Here are the things that are happening. And there were tears. And by the way, it's not just impacting me. This is how it's impacting my children. Like, I have missed Easter. I've missed, birthdays. and just kind of being, not making them feel guilty about it, but just being transparent about how this situation is making you feel, and sometimes losing it a little bit and just showing that raw side of you can have a good impact on. And so I think that's important. I think it is important to use the I language versus the you language. And what I mean by that is, when, instead of saying, when you do this, or you always, it puts people on the defensive, or you never help. If you turn it into I, it's like, I feel X when Y happens. So I feel like I'm being taken advantage of when I don't hear from you, siblings, in 2 weeks. And nobody can take that away from you. That's your feeling. So that's something that you possess. And there's nothing that anybody can say to discount that for you. Sharing pictures is a way to be vulnerable and transparent, particularly if you're the primary caregiver. Share the pictures of what's going on. Like, time just passes by, and if you've got long distance caregivers that you're working with, and extended family, and they're not seeing like the updates of what's happening, it just feels not necessarily real in some ways. And then look for the humor. If we used to have a thread going with my sisters. You're a caregiver when ... And some of the stuff you could just not make up. And it'll be in my tell-all book someday. But it's just to be able to laugh about it and just kind of remove yourself from the situation, I think is part of that, being vulnerable and transparent. Creating a plan for your care recipients' end of life care is important, because that's going to give you peace of mind. These are difficult conversations to have, but it's going to improve the family dynamics when you know what somebody wanted for their end of life care. How do they want to be buried, or in the ground, or they want to be cremated? Did they want, what did they want their memorial to look like? It doesn't have to be a big conversation, just like little things, even saying, hey, I watched this, or I read this, or my friend, just went through this, and I want to make sure that I honor your life. Let's have these conversations so that I can make sure that we're getting this right. And write it down, and share it with your family members, so it's not a secret. And that will just help align and get everybody on the same page and create that peace of mind. Keeping good records, one source of truth for things. That's a definite do of sharing the care, because you want to have the medication list, you want to have the doctors, you want to have things so that when someone's stepping in that primary caregiver's shoe, they can be able to pick up the pieces, and it just, the whole systems doesn't fall apart and frustrate everybody. So keep good records about, and stay organized. All right, y'all, this is I put it on the last, but it's probably because it's the most important. So schedule and time for your health and happiness. So when you think finding time is like a misnomer, you're never going to find time as a caregiver. We never are going to have enough time. And so we have to create it, and we have to schedule it. And I'm talking like legit on your calendar. Put it on your calendar. Give yourself time for the things that are important to you, that fill your bucket and re-energize you and bring you joy, because that is how you're going to be able to show up better for everybody in your family and for yourself. And then be open-minded. There is not one answer, one right way to do things. And maybe someone does have a better way, or a different way. It doesn't even necessarily have to be better. It's just different. And so just try different things and try them on and see how they fit for your family and how they work. All right, we shared what the good stuff is. Now these are the things I would avoid, if you can. And if you're doing them, maybe to consider finding a different thing, a way to approach something. So this was something that I know that I learned from a different caregiver support group I went with, is that don't assume that every family member has the same relationship with their aging parent or with your care recipient. Every relationship is different. We all have, things in common, things that we struggle with. And so just because, it's one way for me does not mean it's the same way for my, my older brothers and my younger sister. And then sexist stereotypes, defaulting to child roles. Well, you should do this because, you're the daughter, you're the this, you're the that. No, we're all adults now. Everything's off the table. We're all grown up. We're going to have to figure out how to tackle this problem so it works for everybody. This is something that we have had it happen in my family and hadn't been very successful for us, but trying to make decisions over text or emails, particularly the things that are emotional, is like a big no-no. If it's really important, it's important enough to just say, hey, can everybody jump on a Zoom? We're all getting really good, y'all, at this virtual Zoom and FaceTime group calls on our smartphones. And so if it's that important, it's worth everybody weighing in and just talking about it. So if you can't get everybody together in person, then at least try to do it through some type of a face-to-face call like this. Expecting others to read your mind, yeah, that's not going to work. So it's that nobody, we don't have that as no technology has invented that yet. Or, I just shouldn't have to ask. They should just know. They should just see that I'm, losing my mind or whatever. Well, maybe they can't. And what are you waiting for? Like, let's get it better faster by just being out in the open, communicating and sharing what would feel like help for you. Don't keep score, no scorecarding. That's also not effective. And frankly, it will never be even, I don't think, because we're all keeping score with different rules and tabulation tabs. Certain things get weighted more than another. So just take that off the table. Don't keep score. Just everybody's, putting in and doing hopefully what they can. And you're going to create a plan to do that. Don't make others feel guilty by keeping your frustrations bottled up. So again, communicate, and then avoid the labeling. That's not productive. And also using trigger words like never and always, or writing trigger words, all of that. Avoid doing that. So there's some self-reflection required here. Sometimes you just have to step back and just kind of, look at everything and see where you're going to make sure you're moving in the right direction. And so you have to, sit and think, what do you really want from your family? Like what if it was perfection, and there's no such thing as perfect, but if it was, what would need to be true for you to feel like you were getting support from the circle of people around you? Do you need help scheduling appointments and transportation? Do you need more hands on deck to help around the house, either your own house or your care recipient's house, or helping with groceries? Do you need someone to do the research or the bill paying, or be that, that the person that the care facility is calling? All kinds of things. You need help finding support for yourself because you're on your last thread. Do you need help with the financial assistance? Is this just getting too financially heavy for you to because you've had to cut back at your job or whatever it is in order to make this work? Do you just need somebody to be a better companion, either to yourself or to your care recipient? Or maybe you just want to feel like you're doing a good job. And so I think it's important here too to know what your love language is, and sometimes your love language is words of affirmation. Mine is acts of service. So if you want to show me love, then take something off of my to-do list. So you got to kind of know that to figure out what would feel like support. And then maybe you just don't want to hear their unsolicited advice. Like, let them know I feel X when when I read that you say blah, 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 or I hear this. Like, they can't take that away from you. You feel like you're not doing enough. So being specific about the help you need, these are some of the phrases. I need more on-site help for mom. Would you contact? So provide a specific thing. I'm overwhelmed with trying to keep up with the bills and I'm incurring the late fees. Like that's a problem, you know? Can you change the billing address so that you can pay the bills on time? I need more weekends off. I need help getting mom to her appointments. So those are specific things. And the more specific you can get, the more likely you're gonna get the help. So family communication, sometimes the most important thing is hearing what isn't said. Peter Drucker said that. So managing expectations, one way to do that is by having what I'm calling a family meeting. It sounds like a work meeting, but frankly, like we have work meetings because they work for getting everybody to collaborate and communicate and make decisions and have action items and hold people accountable. And so we're running a huge project here at home called Caregiving, and we need help. And so you want to include all the hands-on helpers and decision makers when you're planning this group meeting, this family meeting. You want to have it in person would be the preference, or a conference call. You want to share what the purpose is. Hey, well, I want to get, I want things to be different for 2021. Like we're in a great place right now. Like we want to start it fresh with a new year. Let's gain alignment. Let's discuss what our care recipient needs. Let's agree and make some decisions. Get their feedback so that they feel like they've got a part in the agenda. What are the things that are frustrating you about this whole situation? What are some things that you think we should talk about? Get that so that you can then form this agenda. You want some help with the ground rules, like, hey, don't bring your kids, leave your dog at home. Try, we're just asking for X amount of time. If you could just not pick up your phone. So things like that. At the meeting, you're going to want to just get to the facts, like don't rehash all the dirty laundry and the kitchen sink and all of that. We're just looking at drawing a line and moving forward. Like, how are we going to make things better? How are we going to be this cohesive company or family so that we are just well run? And so we want, bring things to the table. You want to have the financial state of how things are going, the health state of how things are going. Like these are important things that you might need to reference and that everybody knows where to get their hands on. Maybe people need passwords in order to be able to do some of the tasks that they're gonna get from this family meeting. And then just starting the conversation, use Uncle Mike, use whatever, and just say, I want our family to just be the example for how caregiving can just pull us all together instead of tearing us all apart. Highlight what's working well. It's not all gloom and doom. Even this freaking year of 2020, there's 365 days in this year. It hasn't been all bad. So highlight what is working well. There are some things. Stick to the agenda and the topics and the time allotted. Parking lot, all those future topics that are just too much for now. And then afterwards, take notes and here's what we decided in the meeting. Here are the actions that we're going to take. Try to get, dates and, or at least, by the end of this month or that month, and send it out. And then it's everybody's got reading from the same song sheet. And then maybe we need to have a future cadence. Maybe, hey, how did you guys feel about this? Like do a little retrospective after it and say, was this helpful? Do you feel better? I know I feel better. I thank them for coming and come up with some kind of future cadence of how you're going to communicate and keep those lines open. Just because people are long distance does not mean that they can't help. The role is different. And it, again, might not be equal. There's always, somebody's going to have that primary role, most likely, but all help is appreciated. Many hands make light work. So FaceTime or call a care recipient daily or weekly. That is helpful. That's that whole companionship thing, is just checking in with them. While they're having a call with them, perhaps the primary caregiver can just focus on something else for a little bit. Call or text your primary caregiver, your sibling or whoever is on point there, giving them words of encouragement, lifting them up, being their cheerleader. Send surprises in the mail. So it could be, there's some great subscription boxes right now, if that's within your budget, a self-care box. There's ones for aging parents. You can send them surprises in the mail. They love to get that. I know my mom used to do an unboxing. For a while, we did a box that had just different things in it, like a bird watching stuff. She was bedridden. And so trying to get her to do, have activities that she could do from her bed. And then finally it was like too much stuff and it started to kind of repeat. And then we just did healthy snacks. And she would do unboxings. And so that is a fun way. Define your planned visits for the year. I know like my sister was the primary caregiver for my mom these past 4 years. And, so grateful for her. She gave mom bonus years that we would probably have never had, but it was a lot, particularly these last couple of years for my sister. And she lived in Northern Michigan. I'm in Georgia. I've got another sister in DC and brothers down here as well. And so we had to kind of manage expectations around the planned visits. And so I had just kind of said, worked out with my family, like, I feel like I can go up once a quarter for four or 5 days to help, whether my sister wanted to go someplace else for respite or she just wanted me there with her, because everything's easier when we're together. But those are some nice things if you can define that, or, and sometimes there are things, like for my sister, she wanted to go to football games with her college age kids during football season. So I want to make sure I plan a visit so she can get to one of those games. So think ahead about some of that stuff. Long distance people can also help with online shopping and gift buying. And that's a huge weight. They can do paperwork. They can do research on different things, whether it's a product that we, want to help, or maybe just learning more about the condition. They can help with the bill paying. You can change that billing address. They can help with vacation planning. Maybe you want a group vacation for everybody and you got to find the right place for a hotel or an Airbnb that has the right amenities. I know I've painted a lovely picture here of how a perfect family meeting could go. And like you said, nothing's perfect and your family best. And a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So sometimes things escalate. It just is what it is. There's a lot of history in these families. And so if this were to happen in your situation, here are some of the verbiage that might work for you. So what I heard you say is ... kind of restate it back. Is that accurate? Pause, see what they say. I just want to make sure I understood my perspective so we can work toward a common solution. So just repeat it back to them. You come at this from a very different perspective than I do. So honor their perspective. It's natural that we see it differently. For me, it's more about whatever. So just acknowledging, hey, we're both different. Neither one is wrong. I think it took guts to put that on the table. I respect that. Let me reciprocate. Here's what I've been thinking, but not saying. This is no longer a productive conversation. This is one of my favorite phrases because sometimes it's not, y'all. Sometimes it's just not, people didn't wake up on the right side of the bed. They're tired, they're hungry, whatever. This is no longer a productive conversation. Let's regroup after we've had time to digest about what we spoke about. So this is a mature thing to say when things are just going nowhere. So hire a professional. When all else fails, sometimes you need a third party, someone who's just been doing this a long time and can just help your family dynamics. And so these are some people, I'm part of a certified caregiving consultant group. We've got about 200 of us that are out there. There's geriatric care managers, aging life care managers, sometimes they're called, elder mediators. So these are some of the different things. You might even be able to use your employee assistance program if you're working to find a family therapist that could help. Social workers, faith leaders. And then if you really suspect that things are not good, then don't be afraid to call in adult protective services. I've got some resources that I've created based on my own life here of kind of the divide and conquer approach of divvying up the caregiver responsibilities. So use it to help facilitate these conversations at these meetings, these family meetings. Your goal that I'm wishing for you is just, I want you to be able to free up more time so that you can put it more towards value things, the things that make you happy, the things that make you healthy. There's a bit.ly link up here. And I think there's an underscore in here. It kind of gets lost in the red here, but HHC_caregiving. is how you can get this worksheet that has all these responsibilities, and then you can define who's going to be the person that's going to be on point for that. I love the Serenity Prayer. I've got a little wooden one that somebody in my daughterhood circle made on my mantle, and I have one at my office. And so just a reminder, it's a great little short prayer that you can memorize and say before you go to bed at night. So God, grant me the serenity, accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Sometimes it just is what it is, y'all. And so this is a little poster that you can print out through this link here, the Serenity Prayer poster. So I threw a lot of information at you, but what your takeaways really are tonight is to hopefully, first of all, know that you're not doing this alone. You're going to go out there and you're going to find your care team, and you're going to ask yourself what you truly want from your family. What is it that you want? What's going to feel like it's all jiving and working? Scheduling a family meeting. Again, the holidays might be that perfect opportunity. Maybe y'all are together. I wouldn't recommend having these conversations around the Thanksgiving table or, Christmas Eve when everybody's passing out the presents. Pick the time, schedule it. This is important stuff, and it deserves to have its own space to be able to just resolve some of this stuff. I've got some resources. So I have a fellow certified caregiving consultant, Deb Hallisey. I love this book, y'all. It's not a big book, Your Caregiving Relationship Contract. It's just really good verbiage and stuff about boundaries. I have dog-eared many pages in it. I wish I had it 6 years ago. So it just says how to navigate the minefield of new roles and expectations. And then boundaries, this one has a Christian feel to it, but it is just a great book about if you feel like just you're getting walked all over and that you just have lost all control, and this can really ground you and figure out like where your lines are and some of that verbiage, so podcasts. I have been on a couple different podcasts of Front Lines of Caregiving. You want to hear my voice and just reiterate a couple things. There's a spotlight that I did with Margaret Fitzpatrick on my podcast, the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast. She has 15 siblings, y'all. That's something else. And then Caregiver Spotlight with Cheryl Smith, RN. We talk about long distance caregiving. So those are some podcasts that you might be worth checking out. And then some other tools. I highly recommend the CareBirds app. It's an app that I've been working closely with. They help you coordinate the care. So you basically can create your nest of your care team, and you can put all your care recipients, doctors in there, their medications, their appointments, their to-dos around that, and then you can assign them. You can provide updates, you can share photos, have a group chat, and then also you have access to a coach. That would be me. So if you want to just send me a text or whatever, so free complimentary coaching for now in the CareBirds app. So sharing the care, how our family has approached caregiving. So basically, my sister and I did a presentation at the National Caregiver Conference. And so that's a replay of that, where you can find a geriatric care manager, daughterhood circles, and the art of negotiation. So negotiation was something that I learned a lot from my dad. So I wrote a post on that. So I know that like this handout, I'm not sure how people could access these links, but these are all links in the material if you want to share the PDF. And then I just threw some bonus tips in here for holiday health and happiness. So let's just do a quick rapid fire here, because we want to preserve some joy over the holidays. This is the journal that Deb had mentioned that I had written, but you just want to ask for one thing. So sure you cover all the different bases. Ask everybody over Thanksgiving what their one thing is that they want to make sure that you do for the holiday season in your family, and then incorporate the one thing, and then forget the rest is gravy. The journal is great. Swallow some supplements. So we've got to protect our immunity. It's flu season. We've got this pandemic. your B, your C, your D, because we've got limited sunshine, and your zinc. Those are some big ones. Keep your sleep and your activity habits going, so that you don't have to start the new year fresh. Crank up your tunes. I've got a fun playlist here that you can listen to. I have a caregiving anthem one if you follow me on Spotify. Forget the cards and the stamps. And I know I still love to get the cards, but something's got to give when you're in this caregiving season of life. So maybe this is the year you just do a virtual video card. Could be super funny. Record it when people are together at Thanksgiving and you got your makeup on and you're looking nice, and just be done with it. Put it out on Facebook. Share your memories of holidays past, because that's kind of, we're going to remember and honor those who are not necessarily with us this year. It's hard to see those empty chairs at the table. Exchange names. Let's simplify this gift process. Do a white elephant. Everybody buys a unisex gift, maybe in your family, if, among your older extended family members, and have a lot of fun, stealing the gift and doing that kind of thing. If somebody asks you if you want to be in a group gift, the answer is always yes. And hopefully you just have to send them Venmo and they'll do all the shopping for you. And then postponing the wellness appointments. So just try to get the haircuts, the dentist appointments, all of that out of the holiday months, because there's just enough going on already. So those are some of the, and say yes to any and all help. And that's everything. So I hope that this was, that you've learned something, but we've got time for questions and answers. So what do y'all got?
Elizabeth, thank you. And you know what? You were perfect and on cue, because I will tell you, the way we landed on that spot where we thought we went off script, we didn't, because you clicked on a link that was right there on your screen, and it automatically took us to that spot. And when that happened, we got a question from Carlos who said, hey, there's some really good resources here. And will the links be up on the website? So here's a question for you, Elizabeth. We can very much share the links so that people have them. But do you have these all located somewhere on your website? We have your website up on screen.
They're not all in one place, but a lot of them are on the website. But I'm okay with y'all sharing it. I don't know how best to get that. I mean, I shared the bit.ly links for the people to get the downloads. Those are easy, but all the other links, let's figure out how we can get those.
And for everyone, because Elizabeth, you had so much good information. And if all of you out there are like me, you're thinking, I want to go back and kind of look at that one list again. This session is recorded and we are going to be posting this on the website, so you can go back and listen to it and look for all of this information again. I wanted Elizabeth to share a couple of comments that are coming in, and then please everyone put your questions in the chat box. So we had a comment that came from Sybil very early on. Thank you for sharing the message that caregivers don't have to do it alone. And I love your encouragement to let the person you are caring for be part of the help.
Yes, you're doing them a favor. So it's tough love, right?
It is tough love.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole thing, right? There's a whole aging in place and preserving people's independence, and that's how you do it. It's just by letting them do as much for themselves as they can, and it gives them pride too in what they're doing, and not just feeling like they're a burden. Nobody wants to feel like a burden.
We have a thank you that came in from Mary, who said, thank you, Elizabeth. You were fantastic. I would love to learn more about your role. I will definitely check out your website. And then that was followed right by Karen, who said, thank you for the review for caregivers. As years go by, I find different things strike me differently, and what you went through gives me ideas on what to try. So I thought that was really a good observation with how things are.
Maureen also reflected, and it's reinforcing what you were saying, Elizabeth. It is not good to enable the disability, and I see that in my family too. where in essence, we go at it believing we're being helpful, but in truth, it's really not helpful. A
Yeah, it's
little bit of struggle.
understandable. Like you do it, you can do things for a short term, right? Like someone has a knee surgery or hip surgery. Well, that's different than like somebody is in this for years, right? Like, I mean, you're signing up for doing a lot. And so just keep that in mind.
So your conversation about siblings kind of struck a chord, obviously, with people. And Nancy had mentioned or had asked, how can you begin this communication with the sibling who refuses to communicate? And the parent who needs care is very frustrated by the lack of communication among the children. Siblings have a one-on-one relationship with the parent, and the parent seems to like it that way until now. So there's conversation with the parent, but not necessarily amongst the siblings. So
Yeah.
any suggestions on how to get that sibling conversation started?
I mean, there are siblings that are just never going to help. Like there is a point where you may just have to accept that it is what it is. Like, the brother that I talked about, like he wasn't part of the regular plan of things. Like it just, anything we got from him was gravy, and sometimes he would it would be rough to, he would shake and ruffle feathers. I know I used to get frustrated. My mom lived in an assisted living, and I would go over and it would be all I could do to get there that night, and then I would I'm walking in or out and he's coming in or out, and I'm like, why couldn't you just communicate that you were coming over? I would have come a different night. Like we could spread this out. But you can't change people. Like that was, I still can't get him to RSVP if he's coming to Thanksgiving in 2 weeks. Like he's not going to change. Like it just is what it is. And so I've accepted that. I still love him. I will make extra and plan that he's going to be here, and he may or may not. And it just is what it is. And so, but hopefully that family meeting will try that on and just say, look, I think we can do better. I'd like for things to be different in 2021. I'd like us to all just feel like we're all on the same page. This what we've been doing might have gotten us so far, but it might need a little bit of repair. Just like your car needs to go in for maintenance, like you just have to kind of brush off these things.
Elizabeth, real fast, we have a question from Mary. How do you deal with siblings who want to control everything and will not allow others to have input or contact with your declining loved one?
Yeah, it's a hard thing, y'all. Every family is different, and perhaps that caregiving responsibility sheet would help. Just say, look, I can't sleep at night. I'm worried, put it back on you. Like I'm worried. This is how it's impacting me. My health is this. I have anxiety. I'm grinding my teeth in sleep. I want to be more involved. Can we sit down and just kind of walk through these caregiving responsibilities so that I can see how we can help? Or can we sit down and just figure out what a communication is where I can feel like I'm more in the loop with what's going on and it's not, not nagging or burdening to you.
We have another question that came in, and I think right now, especially with COVID and how much we know how it's impacting everyone's emotional well-being and our own mental health. But this question came in asking about, have you seen family members successfully work with other family members who have PTSD or emotional issues, or maybe where the care recipient has a history of emotional illness, some of that mental health.
Yeah. That might be where you need to pull in some third party, look through your EAP to get involved in that and just help with that. Because when you're talking with some, mental and cognitive, those have add an extra layer to things, and you're going to need some professional, potentially third party things to intervene there.
Elizabeth, there's a question from Carlos on any advice for siblings with adverse dynamics, in other words, maybe addictions or vices.
Meaning that they are you're caring for them because they have an addiction or a vice, or they're impacting the caregiving situation because of their addiction. Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure what was, I think I need more impacting the caring. Okay, so they're addiction. Yes, they're in, I mean, just with any addiction, like I know I have addiction in my family, and we, in order for them to stop impacting the caring, they first have to care for themselves. So, that self-care. So really just trying to advocate for them to have the self-care, and to them to really put their health first, so that then I think then they can show up into the care circle in a more productive way.
What we're going to do, and I invite people to continue placing your questions in here, but we're almost at the top of our hour. So Elizabeth, hold on one moment, and let's go ahead and wrap up for those who need to leave.
And we just wanted to let you know that we will have more wonderful pearls of wisdom as we move into December. So I would encourage you, as we get through the Thanksgiving holiday, and recognize that we still have more holidays coming up. So we have a couple of good speakers coming up, recognizing that holidays are a tough time right now. So please join us. And also, as Elizabeth mentioned, it's National Caregiver Month, and we want to share our book with caregivers. So we're asking you to tell us about your story and why the Caregiver Companion would be a comfortable companion for you. And in turn, we will send our book, The Caregiver Companion, to you. It was recently released in August, and we're very excited to share that with others. And that is made possible by donations to Nourish for Caregivers, so that we can extend the book to caregivers. So we're doing a give one, get one. And the idea is, for a donation to Nourish for Caregivers, we will give a copy of the Caregiver Companion to a caregiver who would like one. And also you can get one yourself as the person who makes the donation. So that's what we're doing during National Caregiver Month. Along with many other exciting things, we have resources and things like that on our website. And as Deb mentioned, we will have this video recording available as well. So you'll get to recap some of the things that Elizabeth said and see where some of those links are, and be able to click from there as you're going forward on things too. So that is.
I love it, by the way. That's a beautiful journal.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Elizabeth. We got a note from Nancy to everyone. Thank you. It's so wonderful that you are here tonight, Elizabeth. There's so many families that I think are going to benefit, especially with this season of our holidays coming up. Very practical advice, and as well, to help us all out emotionally, because families are emotional. That's just what they are.
And I think even when families seem to be going well, I think it's good to hear I love how you framed everything in the context of the I statements, because we forget that sometimes. And I think we all know that. And so, it's just a good reminder, oh yeah, that's a good way to rethink about things. And especially as we're going into these next couple of months, or we're coming out of all these other months, it's just good to reframe things, or to remind us of what's really important. So thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of power within us, and you have the tools, you have everything that you need within yourself to repair and make these relationships, stronger and richer. So I wish you success, and I just hope that, there's a lot of support out there that you can tap into.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. And thanks everyone for being here. We're so happy that you made it tonight, and this will be recorded and up on our website. And we hope you have a very happy and safe and healthy Thanksgiving.
Yep. God bless you, everyone.
God bless. Bye-bye.